Hey guys, I'm Robin, and in this video, I'm gonna give you a quick overview on how to start a productized service. So before we start, this is my previous business and my first productized service, which is called ManyPixels, which I started around 2017. It grew to a multi-million-dollar AR business with around 40 designers. And yeah, as you can see in this tweet from my co-founder, it generated a lot of money, and it was really worth it for both of us to start this. And we had a lot of learnings along the way, which I'm going to share in this video. So why productized services? So first of all, I think there are three reasons. It makes money from day one. So unlike, for example, a SaaS business or, for example, an e-commerce where you really have to invest a lot of money in either purchasing inventory or building a product and hiring expensive developer, usually with a productized service, you can basically just find a client, deliver the service, and get paid, and hopefully get paid up front as well. Secondly, they are scalable. So by basically having like fixed packages, which we'll see later, and as well as repeatable processes, you can basically scale your business. And finally, which is a little bit less more obvious, but they're also great launchpad businesses. So before I started my productized service, yeah, I didn't have any cash flow, but then with the cash flow, I was able to, just start other businesses. So here's the agenda of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to look at definition of productized service, and then how to productize your service. So picking a niche, finding your first customer, scaling, building a team, process, and tools to use, and then finally the mistakes to avoid and conclusion. So fundamentals, a productized service is a service that is bought and sold just like a product. It usually comprises of three things: a standardized offer, a fixed price, and a repeatable process. So let's get to some examples first of productized service. So one of them that I really like is Design Guru. They're actually one of our customers at Many Request, which I'll talk to you guys about later. They are basically a subscription-based graphic design service. And then for a flat monthly fee, you basically get access to a team of designers, and then you can send various requests. They also focus, I believe, on the UK market, which we'll see is super important to basically pick a niche to start your productized service. Second one is Seller Candy. So basically, they focus on Amazon. They're kind of like virtual assistants for Amazon sellers. So you can ask various tasks such as, putting back your listing online, managing your inventory, managing the catalog, inactive listings, and so on. Another one, which is also kind of a platform-based productized service, is HubSnacks. So for a flat monthly fee, you can send all of the basically HubSpot tasks that you have. Instead of doing it yourself, you have access to a team of experts to help you with HubSpot. Another one is DraftDev from a friend of mine called Carl. So basically, it's a content writing agency, but they focus on technical content writing, so basically content for developers. And I think the packages starts at, if I'm not mistaken, $10,000 a month, which also shows that you can charge quite a lot for productized service. And then another one that I really like, which I think they have a whole niche of those kind of productized service, is Avenue HQ or Avenue. And basically they do websites for real estate agents, but they also then upsell with like SEO services, paid ads, and so on. So they're kind of a digital marketing team on demand for real estate agents. And I think this is another great model of productized service. You basically pick a niche and then you get them a foot in the door with a website, and you can upsell them with various marketing services. So how to productize your service? So there are basically three steps that we'll look at. The first one is picking a niche. Second is packaging your services, and then pricing. So to pick a niche, basically, an example of a niche is Webflow for SaaS companies or design for UK SMEs, like we saw with Design Guru. You basically look at a couple of things. I think that the most important one is picking a large market, finding a willingness to pay. So for example, if you sell to very small companies or like solopreneurs or startup founders, usually they don't have a lot of money, so they will probably churn quite fast. The third one is seeing if there is existing competition. If you don't see any competitors, you might think, okay, great, I have the whole market for myself. Or it could also mean that there is no market at all. And then finally, you might work on this for a while. So I think finding something you're excited about is very important as well. There are other ways to niche down. So for example, if you find a big niche, like let's say design, you can focus on design for the UK market, or like one type of design like ads or Webflow, or like any other kind of design. Focusing on a specific platform like I've showed you with HubSnacks, so they focus on HubSpot, but you can also focus on Shopify, Salesforce, and other ones. And then finally, you may also have a unique business model. So for example, a big advantage of Productized service is that you can basically have a subscription and scale up and down, but you could also think about like credit-based services or hourly-based services and so on. So a framework to find those kind of pain points once you've identified a niche is the jobs to be done framework, which I think is super helpful so that you can truly understand the pain points of your customers and then basically create an offer, which we'll see in the next few slides. So for example, if you say that you're going to start a design service for SaaS companies, you could think of your target customers and the person who's going to buy the service as a head of marketing, as a SaaS company, and they might have like a couple of tasks or jobs in the day-to-day work, and that's where you're going to come in and say, okay, look, we can help you improve the website conversion rate by providing you Webflow design for a flat monthly fee. And so that way it really speaks to them and speaks to their pain points, and you can also use those pain points in your copy on your marketing websites. I think to find pain points, I would also look at Reddit, Capterra, and G2. So they are basically review websites, and usually you can see in your competitors how basically their clients describe their service, what they liked, disliked, and then that way you can basically understand them a bit better. So let's create your offer, which is basically three things: what you do and don't do, who is it for? So usually you'll have packages and think in mind, like have somebody like basically an ideal customer in mind, and finally your pricing model. So here's again an example from Design Guru. So they have 3 plans, and you can see here they have their services and what is included. And basically, they also have like, plans which are likely for different types of customers. So for example, these customers might want video editing, and these customers might white label a service. So it might be more for agencies or bigger companies. Here's another pricing model from UpDesigners. So they basically charge a little bit differently, where they have hourly-based service with plans of 20, 40, 60, and 80 hours, which is another great productized service model that I highly recommend agencies to follow, because it's super transparent for companies, and they can also basically purchase hours upfront, which gives you a lot of cash flow. So another one is pricing, which is super difficult, and there could be a whole video on this, but basically it's important that you don't price too low, but also look at your costs and add your profit margins. You can also look at the competition and see where you fall. I also think that at the beginning, when you start your productized service, don't create too many packages. Just keep it simple, maybe 1 or 2 services. So for example, DraftDev that we saw earlier in the video, they only have 1 package. So that way it doesn't confuse the customers, but it's also way easier for you operationally. So most important, how to find your first customer. If you get started, I think cold outreach and content marketing are 2 great ways to start. So let's start with cold outreach, which is what I've done for my previous productized service, and which I still think works today if you do it well. So I believe personalization in cold outreach is not really important. It is in some sense, but the most important is basically relevance. So in this cold email that I've written, I think why you reach out is the most important. Basically, people who receive a cold email don't really know why you email them. So it's important to explain what you do. And then your value proposition. So it's super clear here. And finally, a call to action. So it could be either a demo or sending a Loom video or asking for feedback, but just make it clear, because there are so many cold emails that are a bit vague and the person doesn't know what to do next. So a few other things for cold email. I think A/B testing your email is very important. So maybe send like 2 or 3 types of emails and like subjects and email content. Focus on in-market leads first. So that basically means people that are actively, possibly looking for your product. So what I've done for my previous productized service is that basically I was looking for customers that were already hiring a designer. And so I told them, hey, I saw you were hiring a designer, or I saw you just hired a head of marketing. Here's what we do. Would this service be helpful for you? And so a lot of them replied, and then we closed a few deals. Keep emails short as well. So once you receive an email, usually you really don't have time to read it all, and probably you won't get a lot of response. So it's super important to keep it short, maybe like test it again, maybe a few lines at most. Follow up, and finally creative. Be creative. So for example, you can record a video, When somebody replies to your email, you can just show them, for example, some examples of work you've done just for them. There is a lot of ways to be creative in that sense. So next one is content marketing. So if you run a creative service, I really highly recommend you to show your work. So for example, redesigns that you've done, your work process or work in progress, case studies, free resources, and finally SEO, which we'll look at in a moment. So this is an example of a post that I've made. So when I started my previous company, ManyPixels, I joined all of the Facebook groups possible of like entrepreneurs, SaaS companies, and so on. And I just showed examples of our work, and a lot of people replied, and this got us some customers. I don't know if Facebook today really works, but definitely Twitter, LinkedIn, I think it's still super popular, so you can show your work there. So for example, here's an example of Yuri, who just posted like logos that he's done and he didn't really use for his company. And so yeah, so I think that's quite a nice way to still use your work in some ways. Another one is basically giving free resources. So Maximilian is running a service called Magier, which is basically a design service for German companies mostly. And they give a lot of free stuff and free templates, and this gives them a ton of visibility on LinkedIn and possibly clients as well. Another free resource that we've done at my previous Productize service, we did a free illustration gallery. And so we got a ton of backlinks, which helps us also to rank our blog content. And finally, you can also give just some behind the scenes, and building in public works quite well as well, and also gives you just some more brand awareness. For SEO, basically we could do a video just on this, but design examples as well as comparison articles work really well. So for example, like your competitor and then alternatives works well, or like, this one, B2B sales tech design. I believe that a lot of your target customers would probably look for this kind of content. Now let's talk about scaling. So we'll look at building a team, processes, and tools to use. When it comes to building a team, I think there are three big lessons that I've learned from my previous company. The first one is hire full-time. So one of the mistakes that I've done is I was at the beginning hiring freelancers, but then I had two issues with them. First of all, they had really crazy salary expectations, because maybe they would do one logo and get $500, and then I was telling them, hey, you would be paid like $500 a month or something like this, and they were like, oh, no way, I cannot do that. But then I started to focus on people that were really valuing like a full-time job and stability and maybe growth in the team later, and so that worked really well. Then setting clear expectations is also very important. So what the work is about, what are the working hours, how we will communicate, and so on. And I think that's something that you can clarify in a job description, but also when you onboard your team members. And then finally, focus on team members that have really great communication skills. So you don't need to do a tons of process, because that's gonna overwhelm them, and they probably know the job better than you. For example, if you hire a designer and if you're not a creative, that's also a mistake that I've done. So I just started to focus on hiring great designers, but also designers that had great communication skills. So who to hire? This is more for a design service, but I think this also applies to other productized service. So we hire project managers in different time zones, as well as designers also in different time zones for different clients. So processes now, which are very important. Basically for processes and SOPs, one of the things that you can do is, as soon as you do something more than once, document it. It can be in a Notion file. You can add screenshots on how to do the work, or record a small Loom video, but basically screenshots, bullet points, and then you can create categories for different things. So I think you can create processes for hiring and onboarding. So for example, for hiring team members, we had a 4-step process, which is first, we post a job on LinkedIn. Second, employees or like candidates fill a Google form. Third, they get, I think, an interview, and fourth was a test task or something like this. So yeah, we created a process basically for everything in the company, so that I could hire someone and then free up time and then focus on scaling the business. Client onboarding and communication is also some processes that you can set up. Service delivery, one of the things that we've done there was creating an internal wiki. So basically for delivering a task from A to Z, we just explained to our team members how it was supposed to take place and what was the communication that was required there and so on. And I think also finally, setting a process for marketing SOPs is super important. So it could be stuff as simple as how do we do content marketing on LinkedIn, or how do we create a newsletter and so on. So you can delegate that as well. So yeah, let's go to tools to use. So of course, ManyRequest is my company. It's basically a client portal software for productized services. So you can have everything that you need to manage your service in one place. So projects, client management, messaging, billing and invoicing, time tracking, Zapier integrations, and a bunch of other things. So this is a quick overview. I will add a link in the description below if you want to check it out. There is a free trial, and we can also help you get on board if you have an agency. If you are just starting, maybe ManyRequest won't be a fit for you yet, but nevertheless, you can still try if you want. But it's usually for agencies that have at least 5 team members, 5 to 10 team members. But still, it's good that you know it, and I still recommend you to check it out. 3 other tools that are, in my opinion, must-have is Calendly, Notion, and Stripe. So Calendly is just basically to create a call booking page so your prospective customers can book a call with you. Notion is for documentation, so that's super helpful as well to write your SOPs and processes and so on. And Stripe is for credit card payments and basically billing, which is awesome as well. Okay, so final part, mistakes to avoid. So there's, I think, 10 mistakes. I wrote a blog post that I will also add in the description below, but basically I'll show you the 3 biggest ones. The first one is pricing too low, which has 2 issues. The first issue is that you're going to attract the wrong type of customer, which is the second mistake. But these customers are basically not going to value your service. They will churn, they will complain, and you will sometimes think, oh, my service is bad, what should we improve? And then it will never end. So price your service accordingly. It doesn't need to be crazy high, just price it. Look at the competition and look at how they price their service, and usually it means that it's the right fit for them. The second problem with pricing too low is that your margins will be super tight and you won't be able to invest in marketing or sales or build a team. You won't be able to hire great talent, and the work will also suffer as a result. The second mistake is the wrong types of clients. So I think niching down and making sure that you have a really great idea of who your ideal clients are is super important to fix this one, because simply with the right type of customers, they will be more happy and they will stay longer in your agency. And then finally, the third mistake is not delegating, which is super important if you want to scale your business. Make sure that you basically take time to write down the processes and delegate the work to your team. All right, that's it. That was a quick overview of Productized service. It's not a comprehensive guide, like I said at the beginning. If you have any questions, leave a comment below, and maybe you can also comment Productized for the algo if you enjoyed this video. And finally, check out the book that I wrote on Productized service. It's around 150 pages. It has like all of the SOPs that I've used, all of the mistakes that I've made and that I'd like you to avoid, and like also way more marketing channels that I've added in this book. So yeah, thanks for watching.